Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be showing you guys how to get the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, and the income statement all together so that we can calculate some ratios. Now the table you're looking at contains 26 different ratios, which were all calculated from the financials. So for this tutorial we have two scripts. The first script contains all of our functions. So within the script you'll see how to get your income statement, your cash flow statement, and the balance sheet, which if you've been following my videos, I showed you how to get these individually. So I'm not going to go over these functions since in my previous videos I go into them in detail. So these functions are pertinent to the balance sheet. These are for the cash flow statement and then the income statement. Now for the ratios function, you will need to pass in your income statement, your cash flow statement, and the balance sheet. And inside this function, we will make the calculations. So I got all these ratios from this website that I reference here. And if you want to add ratios, you can just add them here in this function. Just make sure to follow the same convention. So for example, the liquidity ratios, I have the quick ratio and the current ratio, which were all pulled from the balance sheet. So for the cash ratio, I actually had to make a calculation. So I'm just passing in the rows from the balance sheet that contain this description. So I passed in cash and cash equivalents and divided that by the total current liabilities, also from the balance sheet. Rounded that to 4 decimal places, transposed the table, and turned it as a data frame. I then dropped that first column as row names and stored it into this variable called cash R, and then formatted the column names to match our balance sheet. So for all these ratios, I separated these by type. So for the liquidity ratios, they all get grouped in this very last line, which includes the quick ratio, current ratio, the cash ratio, the operating cash flow, and the cash per share. And then I row binded all these ratios and saved it into this variable here. So if you're going to add a ratio, just make sure you also include it in this row bind, and you'll see several different categories. So for this first block, it'll be the liquidity ratios, and then I have leverage ratios and efficiency ratios. So towards the end of each block, I row bind it depending on the category, and then all the way to the bottom, I row bind all the categories or ratios and return this variable called all. So the second script is called financial ratios. This is where we actually use the functions. So we start off by sourcing all these functions. Just make sure this function is in your working directory or else you'll get an error. So all we have to do in the script is just assign a ticker. So for the ratios you saw, those were all for Google. And we start off by pulling in our income statement, our cash flow statement, and our balance sheets using the appropriate functions for each. After we pull in our financials, we go ahead and plug those in into our getFinRatios function, and then we assign that to ratios. And if you actually want to analyze this data in a spreadsheet, then I would recommend you transpose the tables, which is in this block here. And I also left a couple of lines to write these as CSV files into your desktop, and you could further analyze this in Excel. So if you haven't been following along, you'll be able to get 50 quarters worth of data if the data is actually available. If it's a relatively new company, then you won't be able to get as much data. But for more mature companies, you'll be able to get all 50 quarters, which can be used to analyze the company's health, or if you want to compare it to another company, you will be able to do so running this script. Well, this concludes the video, guys. I'll post a link down in the description area where you can get this script. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.